Recently, the university developed a well-crafted press release articulating the various reasons they chose to eliminate the men's running programs. We've discovered those statements to be misleading, exaggerated, and incorrect. When challenged, the university changed their story and again offered incorrect information to justify this action. Their continued devotion to searching for a reason to justify the action when a sole solution has been offered is of grave concern to us. With that, I'll turn it over to Bob.
We represent CROS, the Coalition to Rescue Our Sports. We are here today to address Millersville University's decision to eliminate 3 men's sports programs: cross-country, indoor track and field, and outdoor track and field. The men's running program is over 50 years old, and it was arguably one of the university's most successful sports programs, both with athletic and academic achievements. We have attempted to work with university administrators to create a balanced solution to save these storied programs. Our efforts have been rejected. The university indicated in their press release that the cuts were made for a few specific reasons, including Title IX and budget requirements. The university has stated that cutting these programs will result in a savings of $200,000 per year. Major errors have been discovered with these projections, as significant costs will now be transferred to the women's running program. Through our own investigation, we have determined that the university's budget calculation errors may be as high as 40%. Expenses paid to support athletic programs by the student government from student fees may add an additional 20% to that error level. Projected savings may be far below what was planned by the university. According to statistics on the Department of Education's website, Millersville University's men's track and cross-country programs cost the least per participant of all men's varsity sports at $1,015 per participant. Just 28% of the most costly sport per participant. The cost of track and field and cross-country per participant is less than half of the average cost per participant of all men's sports. Although track and cross-country are the lowest cost per participant of Millersville men's sports, these sports raise the second highest amount of revenues from program sales, concessions, novelty sales, and parking. They raise the second highest amount from royalties, licensing, advertisement, and sponsorships. They receive the second highest amount of NCAA and conference distributions. They receive the third highest amount from contributions and raise the highest amount of total operating revenues. The university stated Title IX as another reason driving this action. Our investigation revealed a Freedom of Information Act request of the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights revealed no Title IX complaint has ever been filed against Millersville. Millersville's Title IX profile is similar to that of many Pennsylvania state universities. The Department of Education has made it clear that cutting men's programs as a means of attaining compliance is inconsistent with the intent of Title IX and therefore disfavors cuts as a means of gaining compliance. The university indicated that the decision to eliminate the 3 men's sports is aligned with the recommendations made in the 2010 study by Oliver and Lindemann, a nationwide athletic consulting firm. The administration has not made this report available to the public. It is our understanding that the report recommended elimination of one entire program, the men's and women's indoor track and field program. The university does not have any facilities to support these sports, and the creation of such would generate a significant expense. Elimination of only the men's version of a sport minimizes the savings, as the needs for facilities, staff, and event expenses continue with the remaining women's version of the sport. It is important to note that while the university claims a need to eliminate sports, it took action about 1 year ago to add another sport to its program. The university has also added athletic staff in recent years, including a track and field coach in the past year. The university indicated that the decision to eliminate the 3 men's sports is aligned with recommendations from the Blue Ribbon Task Force. The administration has not made the findings of the task force available to the public. It is our understanding that the report did not recommend the elimination of these specific programs as indicated by the university. The university also indicated that prior to their decision, they met with groups, committees, and individuals regarding the program cuts. They include the Student Athletic Advisory Committee and the university coaching staff. Our sources indicate that some with whom the university allegedly met lacked any information about the program cuts, and others only had preliminary, introductory information. None made the specific recommendation to eliminate the programs as indicated by the university. In the most recent rendition of reasons for this action, the university attempts to place blame on a preliminary budget projection provided by Governor Corbett. Governor Corbett announced these proposed cuts on February 7th, just 7 days prior to the Millersville University administration announcing the elimination of these sports programs. The governor's budget is far from being approved. Last year's projected cuts to Millersville were reduced by 60% by the time it was finalized. This year's initial draft is already 60% below the starting point of last year's initial plan. Our coalition is devoted to creating a solution to continue these important programs and to provide current and future students the opportunity to experience the values that they provide. With that in mind, we have proposed the following to the administration. Accept an immediate donation of $300,000 to fund these programs for the next 3 to 4 years while we work on a permanent solution. These funds have been identified and are currently and immediately available. Work in partnership with alumni, coaches, and sports administration to develop a new profile for all running programs at the university. Initial efforts focused on this goal indicate that this action can be taken without major impact to the programs while concurrently reducing the funding burden placed on the university. Our committee is also interested in working with other university organizations to achieve similar goals for other programs. We must note that our offer is completely aligned with the governor's recently developed Wonderling panel, on which Millersville is represented by a key official. We have attempted to discuss this proposal with the university, but have been met with a resounding response of no interest. This proposal is viable, immediate, and relieves the university of a portion of the financial burden it says it needs to address. Our proposal can save the programs while relieving Millersville University of what it states is the sole reason for the program's elimination. We are perplexed as to why this course of action is being pursued, as there is no evidence to support the university's decision.
With that, we'd like to entertain any questions the press may have. Yes.
You said that this consulting firm, their report has never been made public. You seem to know, at least have an idea what's in it. Tell me about the investigation a little bit that you underwent to kind of figure that out.
Well,
I'm Clint Stevens. I ran for Millersville in the Carter administration, and I'm now an attorney in the Washington D.C. area. Some of the information that we've gotten our hands on has come through right-to-know requests with the university, but as often happens in large bureaucratic organizations, people sometimes either participate in committees on campus. Tom, for instance, was on the Blue Ribbon panel, or involved in activities that allow them to see some of these documents that haven't been released to the public, but some of our contacts have come into possession of that.
I assume these are track athletes behind you?
They are.
Not only track athletes, but representatives of all sports at Millersville.
Okay. Track athletes, I guess this would be just for the guys. Are any of you, if they don't have track and cross country, are you going to transfer? Any of you?
That's the plan.
Yeah. How many of you would be thinking of transferring?
And a lot of those that aren't are graduates.
Right.
They would.
Right. I got 1,000 of them, but does nobody else want to go?
Other questions?
I have one.
Yes.
What do you think the school's motivation is for doing it then? I mean, if it's not a Title IX issue, if it's not a financial issue, what do you think it is?
It's very difficult to guess. We have been trying to attack their stated and publicized reasons, only to find that they are in error. We make suppositions. Across the country, track has become a popular target. There's an error, because I do need to clarify, they are not cutting a sport at Millersville. They're cutting gender representation. Those three sports and all of their expenses will continue to exist. They will still need a track. They will still go to cross-country meets. So they've eliminated the men's programs, and that's baffling because they hop on the bandwagon of saying we need to cut the number. But the amount of work they're cutting out is minimal. As we brainstorm and try to think of reasons, we also question whether or not this is nothing but a political move with upcoming need to negotiate with the teachers union, saying that they've now made a cut in athletics so they can ask them to make compromises. It's terrible to make one group a victim to try and gain an advantage in another area, but I don't know if that's true. We make suppositions because we can't find the true reason or meet with anyone to discuss it.
So they have not met with you at all? The school has not wanted to meet?
We had one brief meeting. It was an introductory meeting, and our interest in being involved was offered to them, but that was the end of it. No further meetings.
Did they say if you come up with more money, we'll accept this offer?
Well, they've been inconsistent in that regard. When they put out their press release, they said that for the sports to continue, we'd have to create an endowment of $4 million. We challenged that figure because at the operating expense rate that we've projected, you don't need an endowment that large. But one of the things we've said is, well, $300,000 to get us going, and then we'll work on putting together the $1 million endowment. They then rejected those offers. So they made it sound in the beginning as if the creation of an endowment would allow the sports to continue, and then when we actually seem to be trying to make that happen, they backslid and now have rejected our offer that we work to create the very endowment that they asked us to create.
They had a number of reasons why they were cutting the programs, and very shortly after the announcement was made, those reasons were debunked one by one, actually fairly quickly. I know at least 3 or 4 or so were done at the Student Senate meeting on February 23rd. So they kind of retracted and then said it was totally a financial issue, and then we've kind of disproven that as well. So I guess to answer your question, maybe they're the persons to ask as to what the reasons are, if we can't get an answer. No, I'm sorry.
We feel our mission is compelling and we have the right direction, so we intend to continue with our effort since you can find no reason for this action.
And one of the things we've considered that I actually put in a request last week is that possibly we may need something like mediation. I sent a request to the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, what's sometimes called the FMCS, in Washington, D.C. Many people in sports know the FMCS because they mediated the baseball, basketball, and football strikes. So we may need something like that by FMCS, or by, we hope that one of our hopes is that some political official may come in and get us back into a room and get us talking again. But it's our hope that eventually the administration will come around and will be willing to sit down and have serious, creative, cooperative discussions with us about how to rescue these programs.
2 points that I would like to bring up. Number one is it's a little bit frustrating when you go through this process and the highest level administrator of this university refuses to even comment or even acknowledge our proposal. It would be a little bit easier to take the elimination of these programs if we were given valid reasons, but that did not happen. The other frustrating point is Governor Corbett created the Wonderling panel, and there was a key Millersville official on that panel, and the purpose of the Wonderling Commission is to come up with new, creative, and entrepreneurial ideas to fund budget shortfalls for institutions. Our proposal is a model of that, and it's something that they are not even proposing to sit down and discuss or even consider, but especially not even to comment on. We're perplexed as to why high-level administrators of this university propose to work with the community and then don't even acknowledge the existence of a viable solution.
And there's another issue here. We were very hesitant. We didn't want to go public about our negotiations or to make Millersville University, to a person. We all love Millersville University. We love sports, and the university means a great deal to us. We tried to sort of keep this under wraps. We were more than willing to share credit. We didn't want the administration to look bad. We would much prefer that we get together at an occasion like this and announce that we've come up in, cooperatively and share credit and come up with a solution. And so this is happening 6 weeks after the announcement of the cuts. It wasn't our first response. It wasn't really what we wanted. And we tried very, very hard to offer them an out. We didn't want them to feel boxed in. We didn't want them to feel like they had nowhere to go and no positive alternative. And we've failed thus far in that, but we continue to hold out that hope.
Is it $300,000 from a group or an individual?
The individuals offering that have asked that we keep that confidential, but the university is aware of the donors and how the money is available.
Are we out here instead of in the stadium because they wouldn't like it?
It wasn't, I don't want to make it sound adversarial. They requested we be out here, and we cooperated with them on that regard. Earlier, Mr. Basile made reference to the finances that are available. And if I could just take it one level deeper and help you understand how significant this is. The dollars they anticipate saving are far below what they stated. We have come up with a specific plan, detailed, immediately available, that will save not only the money they projected, but an additional $10,000 per year every year, and will avoid $35,000 in losses currently being incurred by elimination of these sports. That's a $45,000 positive income to the university, plus $300,000 on the table. That's why we're baffled.
And to follow up on Tom's point, when the university projected its savings, and those figures are inaccurate, but when it projected $200,000 in savings, that was only looking at expenses. It It didn't look at the lost revenues. These sports bring in revenues. So it's from the outset, the analysis that led to that number was incomplete because, as Tom's pointed out, those sports generate revenues. In fact, those sports are the second highest revenue generating sport at the university. So when you eliminate the sport, it's true that you cut some costs, but you also eliminate revenues. So when you throw all those inaccuracies into the mix, their $200,000 saving estimate is wildly off. The other interesting and contradictory thing that they've said is they've defended their rejection of the $300,000 on the grounds that it won't fix the budgetary problems of the university as a whole. And my immediate response to that was, well, that argument cuts both ways. Similarly, the $200,000 cuts, which are really probably more like a $100,000 cut, doesn't fix the budgetary problem as a whole. And to come back to the earlier question, so you asked, why are they doing this? This is my personal opinion. Those cuts were, in a way, a kind of grandstanding. Coming soon after the governor's speech and budgetary announcement, it was a way of signaling to constituencies on campus, I think especially the faculty in the unions, and maybe to the public at large, that the Millersville administration was serious about making tough cuts. And I think that's what, this is my personal opinion, I think that was what this was an attempt to do. Because when you have an institution with over $100 million budget, even cutting $200,000, to use their phrase, doesn't fix the budgetary problem as a whole. In fact, it's a drop in the bucket. And one of the things that's dismaying for us is if these cuts had come as part of a package of university-wide cuts or athletic-wide cuts, I think we would have been less bothered by them. But there's a way in which, even within athletics, track and field and cross-country, which are closely interrelated sports, were singled out. And I practice employment and labor law, and there's a phrase in employment law to get at this kind of unfairness, it's called disparate treatment. And in our opinion, the way track and field was singled out in athletics is a kind of form of disparate treatment. It just wasn't equitable or fair. And it's not part of a grand scheme to cut costs in athletics. The department's made it clear that they're done cutting in athletics for this year.
To kind of simplify, something that the administration has basically said was cutting a $200,000 program would help the budget crisis, but accepting a $300,000 donation will not.
Yes, sir.
When you say, you use the word inaccuracies, that's not your opinion, that's a flat, in your mind there's no question about that. That's not, we're doing the math differently than they're doing.
We believe that there are objective, verifiable mistakes in their analysis. And one of the things we asked from the outset for them to do is just sit down with us, and we can sit down and we can talk about the numbers. You can say, well, it's 53,028 here, and we would come back with, well, we have it at 48. One of the things we tried from the very beginning, because we wanted to raise funds, was to get an accurate figure of what we need to come up with. Fundraising to raise monies to keep a $100,000 sport going is different from fundraising for a $200,000 sport. So from the outset, we said to them, share your numbers with us, where they come from, so we know what to go out and ask people to raise. And they refused to do that. When they finally came around, because I submitted a right to know request, they gave us numbers, but those numbers are incomplete. They don't look at revenues, and there's specific problems that we can detail with even those expenses.
Right to know what's the budget.
Right.
Other questions? Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the men's running program, in fact, I would say all of the running programs in sports at Millersville, thank you for being here. We'll be available if you have any additional questions. And to all the students that are here, thank you for your support. Thank you.
I have a press packet.
Talk about why
The men's running program in Millersville University has said that it has helped define who they are as a person today, and myself included. And to deny that opportunity for current and future athletes and students is needless. It would be different if they would have concrete and viable reasons for doing this, but we have yet to find those. And they have yet to sit down with us and explain to us what their reasons are. Distance runners do not give up, ever. So if they think that's going to happen, they may have chosen the wrong sport in which to eliminate.
What would you say to Governor Corbett if you could in relation to these concepts that are claiming are a little shady at the university?
Governor Corbett's in a difficult situation. Having to try to run a state with limited income is difficult, and everyone has to share the pain, and we understand that, the university included. We just think that the university is putting all of the pain on the men's running program and totally eliminating the sport. The university never came to the athletic department and said, we need to trim the budget, we need everybody to share the pain a little bit or come up with an alternative plan. Without any notice to the athletes and coaches, they just announced that they were cutting the men's running program. So they did not even have an opportunity to devise a lesser expensed program.
If they came back to you and said, you know what, we cut it, we wanted to cut it, we're going to cut more. We're going to keep cutting until we feel like we got where we want to go. What's the answer to that?
Well, the bottom line is they have a right to do what they are doing. It would be a lot easier to take if they would justify it. There has been zero valid, justifiable reasons for doing this. Every time they trot out a new excuse, the excuse proves to be untrue. So it would be a little bit easier to swallow if they had valid reasons for doing it. When I say there's been zero, there has been zero reason for them doing this. That's just They had a number of reasons for him, but just Title IX was backed up by the voluntary reason. They never made that report available, and it proved to be untrue that they recommended cutting the report. So it's a little disturbing when high-level administrators are giving reasons to the public as to why they're affecting the lives of students and future students. Those reasons simply are not true. And that has happened 100% of the time. And if that's not disturbing enough, they refuse to sit down with a group of individuals who have given immediate and a viable solution to this, including a $300,000 donation that would make the programs continue to run to a years like our solution is found. It is complexity
Something that had to happen. Funding.
Our proposal is a pared-down version to reduce expenses. It would also make indoor track and field a club sport, which again would reduce expenses. So there's definitely, feelings are strong, but that possibility does come up because if you provide a number of reasons, none of which are true, and then you refuse to sit down and give exactly what the reasons are, it is perplexing as to what the motivation is. I think Glenn had alluded to the fact that there might be some political reasons behind it. I hope that is not true, because if you're affecting the lives of current and future students and eliminating a very storied 15-year program with the university's only NCAA national championship in 1981 for cross country. You better have some valid reasons for doing that.